Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to the Rising Convert podcast. My name is Kelly and today's episode is going to be based around an Islamic law called Mahram. And what that means is, in short, it means that someone who is Mahram to you is a person who you are not allowed. So it is haram for you to marry them. And so because they're mahram to you, it could mean that they are part of a bloodline, and they are someone who can be mahram to you after getting married, and they can essentially share physical contact, physical interaction with you, and they can see you without the headscarf if you do wear one, etc. So that's what that is in short. And I want to speak about this today because I went back home like recently, and I went with my husband, and we went because there was a mini vacation we wanted to have, and because our friend and my sister wanted to throw us a celebration, like a nice little party, because there's new things coming up for us in our lives, and they just really wanted to bring everyone together. So we were really excited. Now, before I jump into sharing my story, it's my personal experience that I just had, I want to share a little bit more about my journey of setting those boundaries with those men who are specifically not mahram to me. So I cannot share a physical contact or physical interaction with them, and who cannot see me with the hijab. So when I became a Muslim, I knew about this, and I knew what was like right and wrong. And so I always had it in the back of my head. But when I really started putting things into action was after I had made the decision to wear the hijab. Now, being a Muslim convert, there was a lot of things that I had to really take into consideration, like my family, my uncles, is for one of my cousins, my male cousins specifically, and then think about future, like when I have kids, like what is that going to look like? Who's going to be mahram to them? And so on and so forth. This was also a conversation I had with my husband getting together and having just an insight on where he was at with his journey. So it was something that I was really learning more of. And then when I became a hijabi and really put it on, I really wanted to communicate that to everyone. And I really wanted to build that practice of saying no peacefully and respectfully, and saying no as in no to a hug, or just declining a shake of a handshake if that was something that came my way. And so it was a bit of a challenge in the beginning because it feels awkward and it's not something I'm used to. A little bit about my Latin culture, because I am a Guatemalan. It's very common for us, as a family, to always greet people with a hug, and maybe even the odd kiss in the cheek. Like Italians, they like to do the not even really a kiss. Sometimes it's not even really a touch, it's just the idea or the sound that they make. But sometimes that's something that we also do as well. But giving a hug is a form of respect, it's a form of welcoming someone. It's just something that I'm so used to doing. So building the habit of not doing that with men who are not mahram to me was something new. Now, what wasn't new was declining any of those, actions when it came from strangers. And by strangers, I mean people who are in the workplace, my friends who are guys, my husband's friends who I meet, his colleagues, etc., etc. And so it was something that I was really working and building, in building this habit, and in building this new norm, because it was something new for me. And even with my husband's family, in the beginning, his brother is non-mahram to me. He's someone who I do not share physical interaction with. And so I remember even there was a one point when I had went to go visit, and I had put on the hijab, and I was still fairly, I knew when to wear the hijab, but there's these, not knowing the cues or when to put on the hijab was like a learning process as well. So I had like two things that I was working at the same time. So, you know, there was like a moment where like I let it slip where I realized, oh, his brother was there, and I like ran downstairs and I went to quickly grab a hijab. And so I was saved because his mom and his sisters who are hijabis like were super welcoming, and they were just like, hey, it's all good. We've all had these like little slip ups, like it happens, it's normal. And it was like really new. I think still into like wearing the hijab and getting accustomed to my surroundings. So they were super kind, and I felt really good about that. And so through these like small, tiny like experiences that I was having, I felt like confident. As I kept growing, I kept learning, and I kept putting myself in these kind of situations, or, you know, attending events, and, you know, building confidence, like I said, to create this respectful like peace and connection with others who are non-mahram to me. Fast forward, going back to the story of going to the gathering, having a party. So it's the day of the party, and like I said, I knew there's going to be a lot of family friends were going to be there. I knew that my cousin, let's call him boy one, my boy one was going to attend, and I knew exactly. I was like, okay, like I have confidence. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know that I can't hug him, and I know that I can't, you know, have him see me without the hijab, and I got this. Little did I know, the excitement, the rush of emotions, a flood of emotions that came over me when I saw him walk through and he said hi, just like really consumed, and it almost made me feel like I was on a high because I haven't seen him in so long, and he was excited and I was excited. So we gave each other a hug. We both mutually went in for that hug. And I remember after he was like, wait, like, is it cool? Like, I know you're Muslim now. And I think I just kind of like had a moment of like shock because I felt stunned. And I when he said that, I'm like, oh. And then I think there's so many people that were also excited and happy to see him that then his attention was elsewhere, and I didn't really have a chance to respond, and so he was distracted. Then I got distracted because of his comment, because I knew right after I shared that hug with him, we shared that hug. It was nice, but within like seconds, I did not feel great about it. I did not feel comfortable. I felt a lot of guilt, you know, so that was something that made me feel sticky. And I couldn't get it out of my head. And so I'm like, okay, I know this feeling. I remember I like touched base with my husband just because I needed a little bit of like a soundboard, and I wanted him to listen to what it is that just happened and that interaction I just had. And I was like, I'm shocked. I can't believe that this is something that I just did like willingly. And I almost felt like I had no control. Like, it's crazy. Like I genuinely, like, the flood of emotions just really took over. And he was like, my husband's just so great, super supportive, and he always gives me the things that I need in the moment. He's very good with telling me things that are going to motivate me so I can feel good about, like, you know, me learning, and then also just about thinking about the next steps that I should maybe take moving forward. So one of the things he said was like, you know, remember, like, you're in choice, like whatever it is that you want, however it is you want things to you want those around you to experience, like, you're going to set the precedent. So I was like, okay, you're totally right. I was like, yes, thank you for that reminder. I reset, I paused, and another family friend came through the door. And when I say this is a family friend, this is someone where him and his mom, so we're going to call him man one. Man one and his mom have been really good friends. And I'm saying, like, not even good for friends, like best friends with my mom and my dad. And so they've known me since I was a child. Like, they've taken care of me. Like, they've hung out with my family for years. And so, you know, I haven't seen them in a few years because, of course, I've moved and everyone's just kind of living their life. So man one comes in, I hug his mom, I greet her, I introduce her to my husband, I introduce him to my husband. And what really caught me off guard with this one was that he sees that I went for a hug for his mom. We're kind of just like talking. And then there's this awkward, like, pause, but it felt like a lifetime. It literally felt like it lasted forever. And I don't know what happened. Like, honestly, my body's just even like tensing up thinking about it. I felt tense and I just almost like frozen. And so in order for me to almost get rid of that awkward feeling, that uneasy feeling that I had in the moment, I went in and I leaned in. I initiated the hug and he gave me a hug, and then eventually other people came and they noticed that they arrived, and so then their attention was elsewhere. And then I think I just like looked away and I didn't even know what to do, because I'm like, I did this. Like, why did I just do that? I literally closed the gap by doing something that I know I'm not supposed to do, and I don't feel good about it. And so it was like for the wrong reasons. And I was like, no, Kels, like, you can't be doing that. And I really want to make it known that the feeling that I had wasn't because, like, I felt like, my husband is like watching me, or, like, I feel like I'm a horrible person. It's not really that. I think I want to go back to, being a Muslim convert and having that confidence and strength and courage that I was talking about previously, and how I was building that over the years. And so what I realized in the moment is, now I'm having to do this, but now with people who I share a closer relationship with, people who I'm actually, I haven't seen in a very long time, who I love and have a lot of respect for. And that is new to me. And so that element just made things a little bit more complicated. And I think in my mind, I felt like really strong with where I was at or am at as a Muslim. And so I think that's really what it came down to. It was like, this is how I saw myself as a Muslim, and I feel like my confidence was through the roof. And now I'm seeing myself and how I'm acting and how I'm responding to these awkward situations, and I am not where I thought I was. So like, I was definitely humbled through this experience. I'm like, okay, Kels, like, there's still a lot of progress. There's still a lot of work to do. And so it's really what it was. It was that feeling. It's just like, man, I know who I want to be as a Muslim and where I want to be as a Muslim woman, as a Muslim hijabi as well. And I really take that, I don't take it lightly. I take it seriously to the core, and I always want to like move up. And so I'm like, okay, how can I move forward with this? And so it was something that I kind of sat with. It was like a feeling of uneasy that I sat with for a while. And I kind of eventually had to brush off, because there's a party for us. And so I was just kind of getting, I was just not trying to be so hard on myself. So anyway, that happened, and fast forward again, comes to the end of the evening, end of the party, and there's another family friend who this person, we'll call him man 2. So we have boy 1 that I just spoke about, which is my cousin, man 1 who came in with his mom, and then we're talking about man 2, who is another friend of mine. And this person, my husband and I, we've seen from time to time. We usually tend to like see or talk to them whenever we go back to visit my family, go back home. And he's also someone who came to our wedding. And so this friend, family friend, man 2, has seen me throughout my journey, or has seen definitely parts of me, and has had a lot of social like interactions and been into a lot of social gatherings that I've been a part of. And not once, when he found out that I became a Muslim and wearing the hijab, did he ever really like go in for a hug or anything of some sort. I think he like respected a lot. I think we also may have had a conversation where he asked a couple questions, like if he, what are the rulings? What is it like? Nothing too deep, but I feel like we've had that conversation about like hugging and what is it like talking to other men. And so this person never went in for a hug, like I said, never went in for anything. And at the end of the party, I think because he saw what he saw, he might have said like the interactions I had with boy 1 and man 1, he went in for a hug. And in this moment, because of our relationship and because I have seen him frequently, I think naturally my response was more authentic in the sense that I just was like, like I freaked out. Like I backed away, my arms went up, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what are you doing? And he looked shook, and I felt so bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like, I technically can't hug you. And I think I was just like amazed. Like he looked astonished, and we both looked at each other with like deer headlights, and I just felt super guilty in that moment. And then I felt really bad. I was like, Haram, like it's not on you, it's me. I think it's because he was observing the way I was behaving with others at the party, and I'm sure he caught that I had a physical interaction with boy one and man one, so he just thought it was okay. And it really caught me off guard. And so I said to him, like, technically, like, it's part of my religion. Like, you are someone who I can't have a physical interaction with. And then I said to him, which was even more crazy, man one was standing there, and I think he was just watching because everyone was saying bye. And I'm like, technically, because he like looked right at man two was looking at man one. And I said to man one, like, technically, I was just so excited because I haven't seen you in years that I shouldn't have gone for the hug with you. And I know it's confusing. I felt so bad. And so I said to him, like, I know it's confusing, but in short, like, technically it's part of my religion. Like, I can't physically share like a hug with you both. We do like air hug, like a air high five, but like nothing. And then I realized man one's mom chimed in, and she said, I was amazed when you first like went in for that hug, because I was also confused, and I thought some like in the religion for women who do wear the headscarf like don't usually interact or even touch other men. And I was like, I don't mean to confuse, I hope it's not confusing, but yeah, technically like I'm not supposed to. And without having to like overwhelm them with information, they kind of just responded like, oh, okay, like say no more, like we get it. He's like, okay, that makes sense. I just wasn't sure. And I just felt so guilty. And the reason I felt guilty was because I saw the look on both these individuals' faces, man one and man two. And it almost looked like they felt like they had crossed the line, and they felt ashamed for their actions and for the interactions we had, especially man two, because the way I responded poorly and in front of people, and I felt so embarrassed for myself. I was like, this is not okay. And there's a lot that I learned from that experience, because what I realized is those who I love and I respect and who are really close to me, I never want them to feel like they have to walk on eggshells, and I never want them to feel ashamed or feel like they've disrespected me or my husband. And I never also want them to feel like they can't ask me questions. And I just felt guilty, because I'm like, you don't deserve to be put on spotlight and for me to react the way I did. And though we're all very close and everyone knows everybody, it was just one of those moments where I realized, okay, I need to do better. And so I remember going home, talking to my husband about it, and it became a whole conversation, because I was just super shocked. There was moments in the trip where I realized like I have so much more growth. I have a lot more to realize. What also I guess made me have like it was almost like an awakening feeling, was that here where I live with my husband, with his family, they're all Muslim. And so building that habit here and knowing that like I see these individuals like pretty frequently, and there's also like men here who are non-mahram to me. Because they're Muslims, they know the Islamic law. And so there's not a lot of press there. And then because I'm exposed to these non-mahram men on this side, on my husband's side of the family, I already know what it's like when I'm going to go over to XYZ's house, right? Like I already have that known. It's ingrained in my head. Where when I went back home, I realized there's still a lot of new people, especially people that I haven't seen in a while, who are just learning and understanding through my actions. And so I feel like I'm responsible in that way. I'm the one that is going to be, like my husband said, setting the precedent for what my experiences with them and my interactions, connections with them is going to look like. And because I don't see them, or I'm not exposed to that anymore as frequently, because I live in a different place, different province from my family, I just need to constantly like remind myself that this is a journey, but also realize that, yeah, my confidence was high, but after that trip, I'm like, like, I still need to always lean into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I need to lean into God and just always ask for like strength and courage, and for forgiveness, and for, you know, a lot more wisdom and knowledge, and to bring me close to those who love Him, so I can understand this more. And so I can also build confidence, not in a way that's going to make me like have my head in the sky, but enough confidence where I can start communicating things better on my mom's side, I guess, with my mom and my family friends and my even close friends. Like, so yeah, a lot came from this trip, and I found I just found it very interesting to see how I responded, and how I responded to these individuals, and versus like how I respond to non-Mahram people here. Yeah, so the non-Mahram people back at home in BC versus the non-Mahram people here, where I live, it's interesting. It's just not the same. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of factors that I've realized that play into how it is that I built this habit, and why it is that maybe I felt so good about where I was at as a Muslim here, where in back home with my mom, there's a lot more challenges. There's a lot of different personalities, and I also really have to consider the culture. So what people like are used to and what they're accustomed to, and knowing that I'm not in a bad way, but I'm unique. I'm the unique one within the group. So anyways, it was quite the experience for both my husband and I, because a lot of good things came from it. And I say husband and I because, you know, when I was feeling a certain way, he was the person I leaned on, and he's the person that understands me the most, because he's the other individual who's like on the same page and understands that, you know, we both have this like alignment in life that we really want to grow to be the best Muslims that we can be. And there's always room to like grow and like level up. And that's really the trajectory that we want in our lives. And yeah, so he and I experienced this together. So it was good. And I'm super grateful, alhamdulillah, and like alhamdulillah, for having the people that I have, who are super understanding, non-judgmental, and just really took it with a lot of grace, and gave me the space to like apologize for the way like I responded, and for them for being so curious and in a respectful way. And I love that. I love that so much. It's just something that's very heartwarming, and transparency, something I love to have with all my close family friends and my family about where I'm at. So I love opening up those doors, and I love that they're like willing to ask me those questions, so they can get to know me, this new, I guess, version of me better. So yeah, and I think the greatest thing that I took away from that too is just like, in a safe space like that with people who are super open-minded, it makes me feel like this change isn't something that's like negative. They see a lot of positivity. And so I'm super happy too that like I didn't feel completely bad with staying and sharing the knowledge that I have, and they didn't take it offensively as well. So that was really great. And yeah, I'm just super grateful. I'm grateful with how understanding they all were. Anyways, let me know if this is something that you've experienced before, any awkwardness, any sort of feeling of embarrassment throughout your process of figuring out how to navigate those who are, you know, mahram to you or not mahram to you. And again, if you're curious to learn a little bit more about what that looks like, what it is, the link of what this Islamic law is about is going to be in the description. And if you like what you're listening to, you like what you're hearing, and you want to share your story, or if you have something you want to comment about, you can drop it in any of the comments and on YouTube. You can also reach me out on Spotify, heck, even on Apple. So if you like what you're hearing, once again, subscribe today, subscribe right now. I appreciate the support, and I'll catch you in the next podcast. Assalamu alaikum.